This conference will now be recorded.
Can give I'll start with the introduction, as people are joining in here. And so this is a Startup Grind event, specifically Startup Grind Boston. But now it's virtual events, so you might have people joining in from all over. Basically, Startup Grind is a large entrepreneurial network that started out as a meetup group in Silicon Valley a little over 10 years ago. The founder of the organization, Derek Anderson, he was working on a company himself and wanted to meet other founders, successful entrepreneurs, advisors, and investors and learn from their stories, do more of an interview, fireside chat style, and help the audience of founders um, learn from them as well. And that concept expanded across different chapters around the world. And now there's 500 different chapters, various different cities, universities. I was talking to one of the chapter directors in China the other day, and there's, chapters in Nigeria and other countries in Africa. So it's gotten to be a pretty global brand here. And one of the benefits of the transition now was before they were all localized, in-person events, which I'm still excited to get back to and get to see everybody face to face. But we can also, any other meetings you see on the Startup Grind site, you want to check out the speakers. Most of them are doing virtual events right now, and it's also easier to bring speakers like David here in, and other, great entrepreneurs and speakers we can bring in no matter where they are, and bring them to our local chapter. So yeah, it's been interesting times, but we've continued continue the momentum here, and excited to help all the startup founders in our community any way we can. And we have a couple sponsors and partners that are also helping out. We try to partner with companies that always are also giving back to the startup community. So we work with ShipQuid, which is basically a prospecting tool to help you with your sales, figuring out who your ideal customer profile is, and get everybody on your team on the same page for their outreach. And then our other sponsor is Brex, which is a corporate credit card and banking solution for startups, with rewards that are tied into more technology tools and other startup friendly approaches there as well. Some other partners you can check out on our website. And if there's anything you don't see, happy to find an introduction for you and help your business grow and scale. So with that, excited to introduce David, and he's going to be our featured speaker today. We're going to do a fireside chat format. Going through some of his entrepreneurial journey, some of his he's sort of hits all the boxes here: entrepreneur, investor, advisor, and just as a value he puts on, basically provide, or his big thesis is providing value to other people. So I'm sure you're all going to get a lot out of this chat today. And any questions you guys have, you can jump in through the chat box, and I'll ask them to David throughout. So yeah, with that, David, we'd love to have you come up and give a quick introduction to the group before we get started.
Sure. Thank you, everyone, especially Jason. What a great group to be in, because one of the lessons that I share with everyone is radical humility, asking for help. And organizations like this and opportunities like this allow us to ask that golden question, knowing that we can't out ask the universe, that we can't ask enough. It's simply, do you know anyone that can help me? And so, just to start off in the introduction, through my own career, I went to law school, became an entrepreneur, sold legal research online, and 1992. By 1995, the first company I worked with, West Publishing, sold for $3.4 billion to Thomson Reuters, then went up to the Silicon Valley, raised hundreds of millions of dollars, became CEO of the world's first smartphone, although we didn't call them in 1999 smartphones, we called them convergence devices. I became an angel investor myself, investor, real estate developer, entrepreneur in the early 2000s. Met Leigh Steinberg, the most notable sports agent in the world, and brought what I do to the sports world, meaning being an entrepreneur, understanding special projects, understanding the philosophy of making money, helping people, and having fun. I became CEO of the world's most notable sports agency, where I met Warren Moon, the Hall of Fame quarterback, and he and I started our entrepreneurial venture, Sports One Marketing, a marketing and media company that has evolved over the years globally. The last 3.5 years, I've developed my own brand. So I have entrepreneurial TV shows like Elevator Pitch. If you haven't checked it out, I'm launching a new TV show called 2 Minute Drill, over $50,000 worth of prizes. Come join me, be on Bloomberg, every airport and hotel room. Join me on that. You can try out for that show if you're interested in that. I write books, have 4 books, bestsellers. I speak around the world. I'm executive coach from everyone from the chairman of the Fortune 50 down to individual entrepreneurs. I have private coaching groups, including the private sales group that I'm starting. There's a variety of things that I do with one goal in mind: to empower over 1 billion people to be happy. So I'm looking for 1,000 people like Jason and yourselves that will empower 1,000 people to empower 1,000 people to make more money, help more people, and have more fun with their lives.
And that's a great mission, and incredible story there as well. Like, so, it sounds like the first, or when you were starting out, obviously, you got involved with really successful businesses and turned into sort of an entrepreneurial journey, starting your own businesses, investing in others, and now advising a large number of entrepreneurs and just people looking to advance their careers out sort of across the world as well. So were you like, what sort of was the first spark into entrepreneurship? Did you always know you wanted to start something of your own, or did that sort of come with the ideas that you were really excited about along the way?
For me, it was money driven. So I had an interesting relationship with money because I grew up with a single mom and 6 kids in Akron, Ohio. And the only time I wasn't happy was when you had financial stresses, not enough food, not enough money to fix a car, a dishwasher, not enough money for summer camp. I lived in a world of not enough as a victim, things happening to me. And I was asking, why me? So I was very focused in on money. And the advantage of being focused in on money, especially at a young age, is you were always looking at different opportunities to make money. So you never limited your point of entry, which I think is such a, de- a deterrent to so many entrepreneurs and so many people in their lives, especially in the sports industry. So many people are, their vision is so narrow and they limit everything. When all you want to do is make a lot of money, you're always looking for something that makes more money. So from the time I was 5 years old, I was looking to make money, and I thought money would buy me happiness. Although I learned many lessons along the way, including losing over $100 million in 2008, regaining it through a different philosophy about money. But for me, I was an entrepreneur from 5 years old because simply I wanted to make a lot of money.
And then so like, you had mentioned and yeah, you had mentioned, you connected with Leigh Steinberg early on, and or after your first success in your career, and then ended up becoming the CEO of the organization there. So can you talk a little bit about how that relationship developed and how you became sort of like went from just a connection there to becoming the CEO of the organization?
Yeah, so I have a philosophy of luck, and it's a mathematical equation. It says what you pay attention to and what you give intention to, what you think, say, do, and believe, and understanding your own unconscious competencies or personality traits, characteristics, obsessions, and addictions what you pay attention to plus what you give intention to equals the coincidences in your life. In other words, the luck of your life. And so at that time, in my early 30s, when I left Samsung, the first smartphone division, the Windows C device, the PC phone, I became an entrepreneur, and I, really love sports. I would love to have gotten involved with sports. I paid a lot of time. I played college football, and I was going to help a friend of mine for free. He had a reality show with Magic Johnson called Showtime. So because it involved Magic Johnson, because it was a reality show around sports, I told him I'd work for free and represent the show. Lo and behold, coincidentally, Leigh Steinberg was representing one of the parties in the show as well. I got to go up to my office, up to his office for a meeting. Coincidentally, his chief operating officer, Jeff Morad, they had sold their practice together for $90 million. Jeff had bought into the Diamondbacks, became president of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Little did I know he had an executive opening, and we had so many similarities, Leigh and I, and he had seen the skills that I had developed over the years. He realized the knowledge of what I knew, but also who I knew. And he saw the desire that I had to be what I must be, and a humanitarian perspective on the world of giving. And that alignment, without ever asking, had him ask me if I would be interested in being the chief operating officer of the most notable sports agency in the world. So 48 hours after I met Leigh Steinberg, without looking for a job, without him posting the job, I ended up being the chief operating officer of the world's most famous sports agency. And then 6 months later, from performing at such a level, became the CEO of that company.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. Um, yeah, and it's just sort of getting out there. Yeah, getting out there. You weren't even asking for a job, and yeah.
Yeah. Let me help out too for everyone out there, because it applies for today so incredibly well, that I've always focused in on my capabilities. So I never looked at industries or careers or jobs themselves. What I always did was, I'm going to work on enjoying the consistent, persistent pursuit of my own potential within the context of what skills do I want to develop? What knowledge do I want to ascertain of not only what I want to know, but who I want to know? And then finally, how can I maximize that desire? Because the common denominator, as I found even on my playbook, I've done over 500 episodes. In fact, Brett Favre is today's episode. So I've been around some pretty powerful celebrities, entrepreneurs, entertainments, athletes, billionaires, millionaires. And the common denominator is the ability that you must be what you can be, to have that insatiable desire to never quit. And so if you focus in on today, your capabilities, and see how they're aligned with different opportunities that may be doing well today. A third of the country and opportunities are doing well, maybe synergistic or supplementary to a third of the opportunities that are just stable, haven't really changed from the last 12 months. Or even there's a lot of lottery tickets out there. You may want to align your capability with our synergistic or supplementary to what you feel will do well in the future, that have a pendulum or a hockey stick approach. Some things have been oversold, some things have, pent up demand because of the situation we're in. So if you really focus in on your capabilities, your skills, your knowledge and desire, more opportunities and options will exist for you. And then when you know and take inventory of your own values, you'll see how they're synergistic or supplementary to the best opportunities. And guess what? Not only will the law of Goya apply, which means get off your ass, but it actually will invoke the law of attraction to attract to you these mathematical equations of luck. Coincidences will occur exactly. I always say, all of you today, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're at the right way at the perfect time. Right place, perfect time. Angle to something better by developing your skills, your knowledge, and desire, and have faith that you'll end up somewhere better than that. That's how I ended up being CEO of Leigh Steinberg. That's why I've ended up being a multimillionaire multi times in my life with that perspective, and it always will work.
That's great advice. And then, yeah, so when now you're in our interview here, like now you're the CEO of the largest sports agency, and working with some of the athletes you got to work with, like what were some of I don't know, whether it's, successes or failures along the way, like what were some of the learning points you faced just dealing with, high profile athletes and working with them, sort of learning from them too on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I'll give you a few lessons I've learned. Number one, that working with the greatest celebrities, athletes, and entertainers in the world, multimillionaires, billionaires, entrepreneurs, I've learned one thing, that their lives suck the same percentage that our lives suck. But what they do differently is they find the light, the love, and the lessons in the suck. They have a different perspective of pain. Pain is not a stop sign to them. It's an indicator that they have a better direction to go in. It's a turn signal telling them that they have a lesson to learn. Life is about lessons. The lessons keep on coming until you learn them. And you will be able to see that that's a huge common denominator between and a lesson that I learned that, everyone has what I call the irrationality of sports heroes. They'll spend thousands of dollars for a football that's signed by somebody. But the truth is, they're human. Their lives suck just as much as ours. The only difference is they know how to handle pain and they understand the perspective of looking for the light, the love, and the lessons, having gratitude, forgiveness, and accountability. And then the second thing that I learned is that people buy on emotion for logical reasons. So instead of really focusing our monetary generation in the business in representing something that is a closed-ended business representing or being an agent, the real money was in developing and using the celebrity itself, the brand, to build a community. And by building the community, we could monetize the community exponentially compared to monetizing the athlete. So instead of just representing the athlete, we would represent the athlete, but utilize the athlete as a bug light to build a community and then monetize that community effectively, which has never been more valuable than today, which is why I started building my own brand 3.5 years ago by writing books, speaking, TV shows, movies, coaching, all the things that I've done to build a multi-million person community myself.
Yeah, and I think it sounds like there's a parallel to what you're doing today as well. And like I've seen from your posts and other are going on some of your events too, you know, if you think about the two or both sides, like if you think about sports agencies and if you think about, startup investors, advisors, like traditionally both more exclusive type markets where, you sort of either need a referral in or need some sort of connection. And I've seen you post like on your Instagram, you have your phone number on there for people to send you a text message, and you're inviting everybody to come and join into your training. So yeah, so like how does basically how did you develop this more open mentality, and how is it? Obviously, it's been successful for you so far here.
Yeah, so I live in three worlds, and I grew up, as I mentioned, in a world of not enough as a victim, in a scarce world where there's not enough of anything for everyone, a hyper competitive world that if I get something, that means you can't have it. That there's only first place, that everything was a comparison or a judgment or a condition. And then when I made millions of dollars in my 20s, I lived in a world of just enough. That was just enough for me. So instead of things happening to me as a victim, everything was for me. And I bought things to be happy. I bought more things to be happy. I bought different things to be happy. I bought things to impress people that I didn't even like. But everything was for me. And it was a limited, scarce world as well, because it was for me, it wasn't for you. And I couldn't utilize an abundant philosophy. But over the last 15 years, what I've decided to do after losing everything and realizing that I live in a world of more than enough, that money doesn't buy love or happiness, but it does allow me to shop. If I shop for the right things, I'll be happy. And if I shop for the wrong things, meaning things I don't need or people I don't want to impress, if I shop for the right things, I'll be happy if I allow it to come through me in a world of abundance. So everything that I do is a world of more than enough. It has an attitude, and I put faith in the world along with the currency of money. an object of energy that I put into the flow. Faith is my other currency, that I trust that not only am I right where I'm supposed to be, angling to something better, but I'm faith I'll end up somewhere better than that. And there's more than enough of everything for everyone, more than enough. And when you're confident and have faith that there's more than enough of everything for everyone, you then can go ahead and give it away, knowing that it's coming through you with appreciation. Everything I give comes through me. So I have a much better relationship with receiving. I'm doing a training on worthiness this Friday because I think the biggest advantage I've had is I've learned to receive. I've always known how to give. I used to give to receive, which is just a trade, a negotiation, a quid pro quo. But instead, I live in a world of more than enough where I receive through me with appreciation, gratitude, and the ability to add value and give it away to others. And through this philosophy, with faith, I know not that I'm going to get more by giving, but I'm receiving more so I can give. And the more I receive, the more capable I am of going and looking and seeing what are other people charging for. Like, for example, I give all my books for free. I give all my exercises for free. I give my training for free. I give my guides for free. The only way I can do that is because I'm focused in on receiving so I can give. I'm inspired every day to receive more and more and more and to grow and expand and accelerate so that I can give more to other people.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at things, and yeah, it'll keep coming. Like, I think, you're absolutely right. Like, the less you focus on, um, yeah, on like how you can profit from giving to other people, the more, it'll naturally flow and work together. And everybody ends up better off, like building this community where you can all help each other out. And I think one of the points you brought up, on, I think you mentioned like, having your self-worth in there. That sort of ties into, one of the audience questions from Rich, which is, how much does self-confidence influence one's abilities to succeed, and how do you go about building that confidence that you need to, either grow your business or do what you're doing, getting out there and advising, speaking to companies every day.
Yeah, so in order to gain confidence, you need to practice. You need to practice every day. And while practicing, you need to enjoy it. You need to enjoy the consistent, everyday, persistent without quit pursuit or practice of what you want or your potential of what you want. If you do that, you will gain clarity on what you want. You'll be able to take inventory of your values every day, your personal, experiential, giving and receiving values, and be able to have a weighted balance for that day because it's only for that day. And don't be afraid of being a hypocrite pursuant to that day. So number one, practice, enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential. Align them with a weighted balance of your personal, experiential, giving and receiving values, and then focus in on, according to the alignment of those values, what you want. And if you have clarity, balance, and focus, and consistently enjoy that, you will be confident. And confidence is a mile marker to inspiration. When we start feeling confident, that means we've cleared away some interference, corrosion, void, shortages, and obstacles, insecurities, projection of ego-based consciousness, sometimes the need to be right, offended, separate, inferior, superior, guilty, angry, anxious, anything that stops us from getting what we want and allows us to be clear, a weighted balance with the values that we have, focused in on what we have, and utilizing that confidence in order to know and feel the inspiration. In other words, to be in spirit, to really feel what we're connected to, the greatest source of light, love, and lessons that exist, so that it can come through us, through strategy, discipline, and awareness for others to create more abundance and more for others.
And I know that's a big, highlight. Like, I was on your, or the demo day presentation sort of, that you did in one of your Friday trainings, and yeah, it's always good to see, like, you have the quick pitches and then you give feedback sort of on the fly to every company that comes up and presents. And a lot of it can be how you can come off more confident that this can be a successful business, and where it can go, why everybody should be, how you can build excitement from the crowd that's listening to you. So, I guess, what tips do you have for whether it's a short presentation you're giving, or talking to customers, investors, like, to get the same excitement you have for your business across to the other side?
So there's five things that you need to focus in on. Number one is your credibility. Most people discount their credibility. Most people oversell, back end sell, lie, manipulate, or cheat people and don't use their truth or their credibility in order to effectuate what they want. Remember, if you're 100% credible, people will do exactly what you request. So if I was 100% credible, which I I'm not even 100% credible in my own family, so I couldn't imagine being that. But I'm pursuing that capability. But if I was 100% credible, I could tell everybody on here right now, please wire me $1 million by Friday. I will send you back $2 million. And that's all I would have to say. And 100% of the people, because I was 100% credible, would, even if they didn't have the money, find the money, and everybody would be guaranteed because I'm 100% credible to get the $1 million profit that I promised. So make sure that everything you do, you have a fine tooth comb of credibility to see how close to 100% credible you are when you're illuminating your weaknesses, focusing in on your strength, and being able to be as honest as you can with what you're trying to convey. The second thing that we have to focus in on is emotional attachment. People buy on emotion for logical reasons. I talked earlier about Leigh Steinberg Sports Entertainment. The bug light approach was based upon the context of, one, we have the greatest celebrities, athletes, and entertainers. That makes us credible. Two, people are more emotionally attached to an athlete, celebrity, or entertainer than anything else. People buy on emotion for logical reasons. So I want to know not only what they're doing today, what interests them, but what they like and what they don't like. If we can get and dig deeper into what interests people about what they like and don't like, those are called feelings. If we can get to their feelings, we can create an emotional attachment. And then finally, what we want to do, number 3, 4, and 5, is quantify. That means objective value, quantify, not subjective, not the purple dinosaur Barney, the cartoon character. I love you, you love me, nobody makes any money. That's what people sell on features and benefits. It's a purple Barney dinosaur selling system. It doesn't work. What you want to do is quantify with money, time, and resources. Here's the reasons why you want to do what we're doing. Number 4, here's the impact quantifiably that it's going to have on you. And 5, here's quantifiably the capabilities that I have that are synergistic, supplementary to what you do in order to effectuate it. So if we have credibility, emotional attachment, we go to objective value, not subjective Barney value of the quantified reasons, number 3, quantified impact, number 4, and quantified capabilities. You will have the 5 necessary criteria in order to create an opportunity for yourself, provide more value than you'll receive.
I Hey guys, great comment there. Hey Jason, how you going? Hey David, how you going?
Great.
I just want to follow up on that comment that Jason just asked with regards to how do you control that excitement? On the opposite end of excitement, there is anxiety because every force have an equal and opposite reacting force, right? So how do you now manage or deal with that anxiety that a lot of entrepreneurs, startup athletes, you hear it, you name it, they all suffer. This is a common term. It's like a disease now. People talking about anxiety. I can't do this. Why I'm suffering? How do you now deal with your anxiety, David, in these high tense and high stressful situations? I know you talk about game time decision making. What are some of your game time decision making tactics for coping with anxiety?
Yeah, thank you, Zweig. Great to see you, by the way. Always a pleasure.
Always
So
a
there's
pleasure.
four things that I talk about, and I really want everyone out there to be a ferocious Buddha. And a ferocious Buddha does 4 things when they're in anxiety. Anxiety is a fear. There's primary and secondary fears. So the first step in to handle the fear that exists, especially when we have accelerated change, because human beings don't like change. The only human being that likes change is a wet baby. That's the only human being I've ever seen that likes change. So anxiety or fear has primary and secondary. So the first step is we need to practice identifying when we're anxious. So for me, I've identified several places that I'm anxious. When I have a need to be right, when I have a need to be offended, when I have a need to be separate, when I have a need to be inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry, guilty, resentful, all of these things, I have to first identify when I'm feeling that way. And then second step is to learn not to react, but to stop, right? Remember, when we're in the ego-based consciousness of anxiety or fear, the primary or secondary fears that exist within ourselves, our own perception, we are accelerating in the wrong direction. Our mind, body, and soul are on fire. Our mind. So we need to identify when we're on fire and we're moving away from where we want to go. So number one, identify it. Two, just stop. Okay. And that's the ferocious part, believe it or not. When people say, what do you mean ferocious Buddha? Well, if you've been in an argument with your spouse and, we're saying shit that we don't mean. And I imagine a high percent of you have been in a relationship with whoever it is, and you have said something that you didn't mean. Or maybe if you're younger, you maybe have had a conversation with your parents that ended with, I hate you. These are the type of conversations that I'm talking about when we're accelerating in the wrong direction. In the middle of that conversation, how ferocious do you have to be to stop? You got to practice it. You got to be darn ferocious. You got to be courageous, ferocious. You got to be disciplined and strategic, but you got to practice stopping. And if you can stop, knowing your mind, body, and soul are on fire, you can institute the third step, which is drop. Dropping is breathing. And what I do after I stop is I breathe deep through my nose, past my eyes, out through my mouth to the end of the universe. And I take a minimum of 6 breaths. I call them the 6 breaths of Buddha. So now you got the ferocious, now you got the Buddha. And so here, the ferocious Buddha breathes 6 times until when? Till we're at center, till we're at neutrality. Till we've cleared the interference and corrosion, the obstacles, the voids, and the shortages that we have perceived to exist between us and everything that already exists, everything that we want, the great source of light, the great source of love, the great source of lessons that exist. And when we can sit in neutrality, then we can identify where we want to go. And we, once again, consistently, persistently enjoy the pursuit of the correct trajectory, our potential. And so when our mind, body, and soul are on fire, Weed, by acting in fear or anxiety, we know that when we're on fire, stop, drop, and roll. Stop, be ferocious, be a Buddha, drop, breathe through your nose, out through your mouth, and then in neutrality, at center, in the flow, connected to this great source of light, love, and lessons, go ahead and roll in the right trajectory towards what you want, your potential.
Definitely, definitely. And with regards to what you said in breathing, right? Even coming from an athletic background and running, I mean, that is something that I try to practice definitely even in my business meetings and discussions. Sometimes I would pause. I would just pause and catch a breath. It's okay to pause and catch yourself before you say something. As you said, you don't mean or make a decision that you haven't thought out fully, because anxiety sometimes suppresses your ability to make rational and logical decisions. So mastering your breathing and meditation and even yoga, a lot of girls doing yoga, so I'll definitely recommend that as a mechanism to practice that breathing. So great advice, man. I really appreciate you guys, what you're doing. So thanks for this. So I would let you guys continue. Just wanted to hop on to ask that question there, as I knew it's something that's definitely relevant.
Thank you.
Okay, man.
Yeah, and then, so I mean, sort of some build off of that too. Like I know, like with your background, working with athletes on.
I think we lost him there.
Sports agency, and then basically on your, so a lot of whether it's now, we had another Ogden who was in the NFL and has some entrepreneurial ventures he's been working on since then. Like, seems like there's a big transition now for, or I don't know if it's always been relevant, but you know, a lot of athletes and former athletes, um, even like or a lot of the famous, you know, top athletes now are either entrepreneurs building their own companies or investing or even doing like more endorsement for equity deals. Are you seeing this sort of movement as well? And like, how do you is there a difference for you working with athletes on their ventures versus any other entrepreneur that you get involved with?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because in this respect, I think there's the greatest opportunity that not only athletes have, celebrities have led the way, but entrepreneurs, brands themselves have, and that's understanding the unbelievable size of our spectrum. For the first time, an individual, whether they're a high school, college, professional, athlete, or an entrepreneur, we can build our own communities that go far beyond what even mid-sized and large companies could be. And knowing that the athletes have this emotional attachment and exposure, if they can leverage that awareness and attraction in order to build a community, they can prolong their brand and their relevancy and their career and utilize different mechanisms in which to create revenue and monetize that, not only for them, but for different causes and purposes and charities as well, which a lot of philanthropic athletes and celebrities and entertainers and entrepreneurs do. And so I highly encourage everyone, no matter what size you are, and just to give you a little bit of my technique that I teach and coach and provide as a marketer. When I started my brand, I had always been the guy who created brands, right? I was Leigh Steinberg's partner. I was the CEO of this company. I was Warren Moon's partner, but I didn't have my own brand. 3.5 years ago, when I met Gary Vaynerchuk, who's the expert at building personal brands and utilizing social media to do so, I had told him I'd been helping him with his sports agency. He helps me with my brand. And I had told him in year one that I was in a 20-year plan to build my brand, which also was shocking to him because even he doesn't have a 20-year plan. I was a little bit older than almost everybody in the space, and a 20-year plan seemed reasonable to me to build my brand. And my goal or objective of that brand was to find two people that I could sell through. In other words, I was looking for two people in year one, an entire year. I just wanted two people that I could sell through, two ambassadors that would be out there like Zwed and like you, Jason, that would tell people, hey, you got to see the playbook. You got to see elevator pitch. You got to see 2-minute drill. You got to read David's books. You got to go into this interview. David Meltzer. I love Dave Meltzer. And Jason and Zwed, if I had you two guys in year one and you just each got me two people to do the same thing every year, that when I was 70 years old, as I told Gary, I would have 2 million people selling through 2 million people every year. And then at 71, I'd have 4 million people selling through 4 million people. Every athlete, entertainer, celebrity, brand, and individual has that opportunity if they stay clear, balanced, and focused on their objective of selling through just two people a year. What happens is, as you practice and get better and are consistent in posting and building content to help others, that it actually accelerates far beyond. Because I've been in this 3.5 years. At the rate that I wanted to be, I should have 16 people selling through 16 people a year, not having 8 to 10 million views and hundreds of thousands of ambassadors within 3.5 years. So even though I'm ahead of schedule, I still would have been very content on building my audience, building my community, and allowing to empower that community to empower others. So everyone out there, if you are not somehow figuring out to find two people during a year to build your community by selling through them, you're making a huge mistake of an opportunity that may not exist again in the next decade.
Yeah, and then a question. Yes, we've had a couple speakers on like sort of the personal branding and marketing, both on the startup side and just as individuals. I guess what's your philosophy on like, and I know you balance both, but like as an entrepreneur, you're pushing out trying to draw people into content that's both tied to your business and also building your personal brand as well. So how do you balance the two sides as an entrepreneur and figure out how much of your focus should be on one versus the other?
My focus is always on everything, everyone, and all. So what I do is I have a 4-step, and I teach this to everyone. But one, I believe Shakespeare was correct when he wrote, "The whole world is your stage." And never before has the whole world been our stage. Never before have you been able to access billions of people around the world and have no point of entry, no limitation to the point of entry to reach the entire world as an individual, whether you're 4 years old or 400 years old, it doesn't matter. And so if Shakespeare was correct and the whole world is our stage, and I have a strategy of using the strength of my signal, the spectrum of who I'm trying to reach, and the clarity of my message in order to attract all the people that can hear me. It's not what I say, it's what they hear. So when I say hear me, I mean, are they tuning in to the frequency of Dave Meltzer? And do they understand what I'm saying? And so in order to do that, I need to capture what I do during the day, in person, on the phone, email, and media. I need to modify it to each of the different platforms that exist. Because as I mentioned, earlier in the interview today, I put the same video on TikTok that I put on Instagram. TikTok, they were reaming me because I said money doesn't disappear because the average audience or spectrum of TikTok doesn't understand perceived value versus real value, where everyone on Instagram and LinkedIn were like, this is the greatest video, you're a genius. I went from idiot to genius simply by modifying what I said correctly. Then amplification is so important, understanding the sell-through model of empowering others to empower others so that people in your stuff can become viral. And then 4th step, which very few people besides me, I think, have a strategy for. I have a perpetual strategy for my personal brand. So everything that I build today, I'm building for 20 years from now and thinking about, my grandkids, what they're going to be watching and why they would be interested or still motivated, transitioning or inspired by what I'm teaching, what I'm posting. I'm creating a legacy just like Disney did, in 1920 when he had a black and white whistling mouse, Steamboat Willie. He had a perpetual content strategy that he knew someday there would be 470 million kids watching the Mickey Mouse Club on YouTube. Even though he didn't know YouTube was going to exist, he had a perpetual strategy. So everyone out there should have a capture strategy, a modify strategy, amplify strategy, and a perpetual strategy. And know this, the whole world is now your stage. Step onto it.
And for those that might be more starting out on producing their own content and building their audience, what advice do you have to, take the first steps there?
Yeah, I'm going to give you the same advice Gary Vee gave me. And I didn't start listening it or understanding it until about 3 years in. You cannot post enough. You cannot post enough until you have all your friends and your family telling you, dude, you got to stop posting. You're annoying me, or that's too much. You haven't even started posting enough. Until you have people who hate you and don't like you telling you, dude, you're annoying. Stop posting your junk up there. You haven't even started posting enough. There's at least 4.4 billion people to step on that stage. 4.4 billion people. So I'll promise you this, if 4.3 billion of them don't know who you are, don't like you, you annoy, whatever it is, but zero point 0.1 billion people love you, your grandkids will never have to work. You'll be one of the most popular and inspirational and impactful people in the world. So keep posting more and more and more to start. Keep practicing. Post every day as much as you can. Capture, modify, amplify, perpetuate your content. Build an audience, build a community. Be true to yourself. Know your frequency. Don't try to please anybody else. Don't try to seek approval. Remember this, the pimple popper lady on YouTube, she has more subscribers than the entire Pro Football Hall of Fame. All of my heroes combined don't have as many people subscribed together as the pimple popper lady. That's because the pimple popper lady, she posts every day only concerned about people who like watching pimples being popped. Go ahead, pop your own pimple, find your frequency and seek the people that like to watch you pop pimples.
No, that's a great great example there. And so as long as, or I mean, there's the whole world, like you mentioned, and an audience that it doesn't matter if the whole world is your audience. Just you find a fraction of it, you're on you're on the right path there. So yeah, that sounds good. Just wanna let everyone know, like, if you do have any more questions, you can submit through the chat. And then we can keep going through the last 10 to 15 minutes here as well. So on and just a question on the or we talked about presenting, like, what you look for or how you build the confidence, get your excitement across, and present as the entrepreneur or as a speaker. On the receiving side, what are you typically looking for, whether somebody's pitching for investment or for you to become an advisor? Like, what can attract you to one company versus another?
For me, it's the 5 points of credibility that I talked about. One, I want people that are credible, that don't oversell, back and sell, lie, manipulate, or cheat. 2, some sort of emotional attachment. But more importantly, I'm looking for the 120 rule. So I'll go ahead and invest, for every $20 with the expectation of making 100. Just like people who, anything I do, I guarantee. I work month to month with people and I guarantee profit. I hold not only energetically, but quantitatively a value, what's called the 120 rule. So I wake up every morning, pray to God for at least 10 people I can help. I look around my room before I meditate and I imagine $100 bills everywhere. And I get the feeling in my heart. What would it feel like to give $100 to Jason, $100 to Zwed, and ask for 20 back? There's a feeling, a mental perspective and an emotional perspective that goes around and with that. And so what I do is live by the 120 rule. When I'm looking for credibility, emotional attachment, reasons, impacts, and capabilities with a 120 rule value justification that's quantifiable, I try to extract all the emotional aspects, the subjective value of what I'm doing, and leave it within the objective realm so that I can maximize the margins of millionaires, that I can receive more. In other words, make more money to help more people and have more fun.
And then, I don't want to, or just to, to wrap up here, like, basically, if everyone that's listening, either on the call or through our YouTube channel afterwards, this will go on the Startup Grind local, which can go basically as a worldwide audience now as well. So, what's the, like, if they take one action after listening to this, what should people be doing to take their next step on their startup journey?
Yeah. So, number one, reach out to me, right? I have free guides, free exercises, free books, free training, david@dmeltzer.com. And that will be your first step, because what I am telling you to do is ask for help. You cannot ask big enough. You cannot ask off enough. You cannot out ask the universe. You need to ask for help. Do you know anyone that can help me? Seek information. I have training for free every Friday. The replay, my replay yesterday on Spotify was the #1 downloaded, the playbook, the podcast. It'll download more than Brett Favre, who's on today, featured on Spotify, an entrepreneur. More people want to learn. They want to ask for help. The #1 piece of advice is find people who sit in the situation you want to be in and ask for help. Know your what and ask people who have your what, how to get your what, or to give you the what. So reach out, ask for help, be radically humble, live with gratitude, find the light, love, and lessons, live with forgiveness. Know you're just expanding, growing, that pain is an indicator, not a stop sign. Be accountable. Ask yourself, what did I do to attract this to myself? What am I supposed to learn from it? And you will be inspired in spirit. You will feel that connection to the greatest of love, light, and lessons. And the more you feel how connected you are to that source of light, love, and lessons, you'll be able, with appreciation, to allow it to come through you and clear the other connection to everything and everyone you're connected with. In other words, don't live in the world of not enough and be a victim. Things don't happen to you. Don't live in the world of just enough where things happen for you, buying things you don't need to impress people you don't like. Live in a world of more than enough. More than enough of everything for everyone. Allow it all to come through you for others. And if you do that, you will make me happy, but more importantly, you'll be able to empower others to be happy. I'm looking for 1,000 people like Zwed and Jason who will empower 1,000 people in their lifetime to empower 1,000 people to be happy. 1,000 times 1,000 is a million, 1,000,000 times 1,000 is a billion. We can create a collective consciousness of the greatest virus ever created, happiness, the one that's spread simply by witnessing it. It will strengthen you emotionally, physically, spiritually, and financially. It'll strengthen your immune system, so it'll protect you against all other viruses. Please share happiness, make more money, help more people, and have more fun. Reach out to me, david@dmeltzer.com, and we'll also post my text community, which I know you guys belong to, 949-298-2905. I appreciate all of you, the opportunity. Sorry that I have to hurry out to my next interview, but I'm trying my best to empower as many people as I can. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate you for coming on. I know we all learned a lot here, and yeah, excited to continue spreading the word of David Meltzer.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Zwag. Good to see you both.
All right, man. Peace.
Peace.
Hey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks everyone else for jumping on the call here. We'll have a couple more events lined up. We'll be posting to the startupgrind.com/Boston site. We also have some other resources, like we have partners on the PR and media side, development, other, and startup consulting, advisory, whatever you need. Just reach out to us and be happy to make introductions and connections there as well. And yeah, if you guys have any other questions or feedback, happy to chat, and I can I'll share my email in here as well. Thanks again for jumping on.